show and whatnot. What was your initial reaction when you saw Georgia coming in at 12 and then us theoretically not in college football?
Slightly surprised because, as everyone's talked about, they have the number one strength of schedule in the country. But I think what's happened with Georgia is the football judgment part of it from the committee has, combined with the losses, has hurt them. Now, is that appropriate? That's up for debate. But it's been the way they've looked, and not just the Ole Miss game. It's been the first 2.5 quarters at Alabama, the Kentucky game, Florida game, and they've played to their potential, arguably full potential, 1.5 games, Texas, and second half against Clemson. Now, they deserve credit for all of that. I'm not trying to diminish that. I'm just saying I think that's my best guess, because clearly their schedule has been the toughest in the country. They've played more ranked opponents on road and neutral sites than they've had home games. So it's been a ridiculous schedule. And I think the thing is if they play well Saturday night, everything will sort itself out and it'll be fine. But I think it was almost like if you looked at each set of rankings as a bit of a snapshot, and they do say they go back to a blank sheet of paper every week, you only can kind of do that because you have to take into consideration the whole season. But I would say it's probably more of a reflection of what are they right now? How good are they? Why are they not playing to their potential? I think it's more, in their case, about how they have played recently as opposed to who they've played and how high their potential is.
So the general consensus seems to be if Georgia wins this game tomorrow and handles its business, that they're in with 2 losses. Is there any world in which you think they could get in with 3 losses?
There is a world in which they could. It would probably take some help around them. That's why I think I'm not so caught up on the 3 losses. How do they play? Now, if they play Tennessee and they lose on a 62-yard field goal, they've still played the toughest schedule in the country. And so now you evaluate how do they play? How do they play the rest of the season? Did anyone else face the same type of challenges that they did in terms of schedule? So I still think there is a way. I would call this a near elimination game because they will need some help if they lose the 3rd game. And you can argue all day, and it's not a bad argument, about whether that should be the case, given the teams that they've played. But I think it will be a near elimination situation, but I won't say that they're out of it for sure, simply because their schedule is so much more than what anybody else has played that's in contention.
Kind of a general question, but what do you want to see from this Georgia team tomorrow night?
Protect the quarterback, run the ball a little bit, don't turn the ball over. I think their defense has played well for the most part. They've certainly gotten after passers in big situations. They've played well. Maybe not to their standards statistically against the run or the ethereal realm standard that they've set the last several years, but they're still really good against the run. So, Tennessee's got an outstanding running game, and I think the biggest challenge of the game is how will they handle the defensive front, because Ole Miss might have more explosive havoc wreakers on the defensive front individually, but nobody has a deeper defensive line than Tennessee, and Tennessee's got a couple that can mess things up too. Tennessee, Georgia, Texas A&M, Ole Miss have elite defensive lines. Georgia's offensive line did not play well against Ole Miss this last week. That's the first thing I want to see from them.
With Carson back and just the way he's performed overall this season, for a guy that was thought to be such an important piece to this team, what do you want to see out of him on Saturday in terms of just correcting some of the issues he's had?
Don't turn the ball over, and go ahead and take the check down if that's all you got. Get the ball out of your hands. Distribute the ball, and they don't have as many playmakers as they've had in years past, but don't press so much to make the big play. The big play will come. He's proven very capable of doing that over the years, but the number of turnovers, the number of interceptions, not all of them his fault. There have been some deflected balls. I don't know that the receivers have always helped him out the way that they might hope, and the receivers themselves would hope, but he's got to take care of the football. I mean, you can't have fumbles, you can't have bad interceptions. If you throw one, so what? But you can't let them pile up. And I think that's what's happened to Carson in big games.
How much do you think this game changes on whether or not he could?
pretty significant. I mean, I think Gaskell played well the other night, but Nico is a really talented guy, and I think the question would be, how wide open are they? Now they came in against Mississippi State, and they let him run the offense. But I think the thing that people forget, this is a running football team. I mean, Nico has the talent to make big plays. They run the ball. That's what they do. That's what they're best at. Because they've struggled a little bit in the passing game and against their better opponents too. And some of that has been Nico misses, some of it's been drops. There have been a number of things. But the one thing that's been consistent is Dylan Sampson running the football. So they're a running team. And so I think it's a big deal because Georgia's going to be hard to run against in that stadium night environment, backs against the wall. So you're going to have to make some plays down the field. And Nico's obviously got a lot more experience, although he's still obviously really young, but he's played more than Moore has. So I think it's a pretty big deal, and hopefully he'll be able to play.
Just in terms of the environment, you mentioned that night game and all the excitement. What do you expect it to be like tomorrow in Athens?
Desperate, angry, both the team and the fans. They want to get behind them. They want to keep the winning streak going against Tennessee, and probably more than anything else, they want to prove a point to the selection committee that they're being undervalued. So, I mean, the last time, it's really funny, they were supposedly doubted, but not by me. There was one person on the set that picked the Dogs to win in Texas. Then again, I thought they'd win at Ole Miss last week too, so what do I know? But so I think that they'll probably play up the disrespect card from the committee, but they are 10-point favorite, so somebody's expecting them to win. But I imagine that they'll try to plug into that and sort of plug into being the first team out and show that's not the way it should be. And two teams playing this game. Tennessee's good. I think after Tennessee lost to Arkansas, and when they played Alabama, Alabama was in a little bit of a reeling, staggered state, probably not quite as sharp as they've been early in the season. And that's not to diminish the win. It's just saying I think it has functioned together that maybe we haven't paid enough attention to Tennessee. They're really good. And, that defensive front will carry them a long, long way. And I think we'll give them a chance Saturday night.